Hello everybody, it's GirlGotGame, and welcome back to Gilded Shadows. We are starting Magnus's bad ending. So, we're starting with bad end number 1. I've got all the same traits that Morgan had in his sweet ending, so his not preferred traits. And we're starting off with the first choice with him again, starting off in his route. And it looks like we're going to have mostly different options going forward, so we should have some variety. But anyway, we are going to start with... Who are you again? Excuse you? I'm sorry, but who are you again?
You don't remember then?
Sorry, everything is fuzzy right now. Have we met before? He did seem a little familiar.
Only when you tried to escape a few days ago.
So she hasn't met him. Just to clarify, in this run, we did not run into Magnus before she tried to escape here, so that is true. I tried to escape?
You were rather out of it at the time, so I believe you assumed you were in danger.
Is that when I attacked you?
Yes, it was quite unexpected.
At least he seemed more amused by it than anything. But it was strange having an episode of my life I didn't recall.
I told you my name then, but it seems like you've forgotten.
Sorry about that.
You don't need to apologize. I told you I'd tell it to you again, no matter how many times you forget. I'm Magnus Ulrich.
Magnus. Then I'm at the Endgame headquarters now.
You are.
How long was I... unconscious?
You've been at Corsolaris 8 days.
8? It came out as a horrified squeak. I had been in the hospital that long?
You weren't unconscious for all of it, but much of it, unfortunately.
I struggled to process all the information. The hospital stay, my new situation... And that this odd man was the leader of Endgame most of all. Hello, Ari. Alright. So, now we skip for quite a while. Okay, this is gonna be the same. I was being selfish. No, wait, did I not do that before? Oh, right, I did the... I thought I did that before. Hold on, I gotta look at this now. Nope, I'm just misremembering. Man, my memory is as great as Magnus's. Appropriate. This is why I have sticky notes. Okay. I was being selfish, Dr. Yu. I was being selfish, I suppose. The doctor frowned, looking up from the display he'd been typing in. He was silent as he studied my face, a frown crossing his features.
It's not abnormal to experience misplaced feelings of guilt in situations like this. By my observation, however, self-serving is not the same as selfish.
I let out a dry laugh. That's just semantics.
Is it? Breathing is self-serving, Morgan Leone. Drinking, eating, these things are also self-serving. Do you consider that the same as selfishness?
Of course not. But that's just taking care of your basic needs. And it doesn't affect other people.
Is pursuing a personal dream not a fulfillment of a basic emotional need as well? Is that not why you hid your status as an Esper?
I couldn't argue with that logic. He showed a lot of understanding there. But even so... I should have thought about how it might affect my family. When you put your needs above others, it can turn from being self-serving to selfish.
Does your family often put their needs and well-being above yours?
I let out a soft sigh, unsure how to answer. I knew what he was getting at. I'm sure they'll be hurt, but probably more because I hid it than anything else.
If you believe you've done something wrong, your only recourse is to apologize and make amends after expressing that remorse. Guilt ceases to be a healthy emotion when it only results in shame.
That's a great line. I feel like I should write that down and add it to my sticky notes, because it's a good thing to remember.
I am, however, not a mental health professional. I will assign a counselor with whom you can discuss this issue in more depth.
I'm not sure that's...
Self-advocacy is important when it comes to one's medical care. However, you have undergone a tremendous ordeal, one that is not likely to end soon. In addition, emotional distress and trauma are likely to cause further instability in your psi, as F-class Espers have always shown that their abilities are tied more strongly to the emotion centers in their brains. For your health, emotional and physical, as well as the safety of those around you, I expect you to defer to my recommendation.
Right. He had a point with the safety thing, I suppose. Are we... Okay, there we go. Love you, Dr. Sasaki. Okay, this is also a different option, which is... No, wait. Is it? Yes, it is. I think we did you work under Magnus because we were, like, interested in Magnus specifically. Right. Right. Okay. Alright, my memory's coming back, slowly but surely. You mentioned the Queen's Guard is out in the field?
Just checking on something for us. I think they'll be back by the end of the day. They're mobilized more often than the King's Guard, since our primary job is to monitor Magnus. And he never goes out into the field.
Never?
He is more useful here at Cor Stellaris, and it's safer. Not that he never leaves the tower, mind you, but he usually has an escort and stays close by.
I wasn't sure why that would be the case. Because king ranks were so rare? It was difficult to understand why that would be so significant. Maybe I just wasn't grasping the importance of being able to manipulate technology that way. Regardless, not being able to go where he wanted sounded so... stifling. Did that mean he'd never even left Race Hill? Even aside from my dream to go off-planet, I'd always wanted to travel. I couldn't imagine spending my entire life in one place. But now... Is that what's in store for me as well?
Well, you're different. You're not a king rank like Magnus. Though you can mimic king rank abilities, which has some people concerned. Odette, there's no reason to talk about that right now. Why not? She'll hear about it at some point.
Is being able to mimic a king rank... bad?
It's not bad. It's just that most queen ranks can't, so this puts your abilities in a new category. F-class Espers have unpredictable abilities. Abilities that don't always align to the normal ranking rules. So when one joins up, there tends to be some caution. I dealt with the same thing at first.
You're F-class as well? I wasn't sure how many others there were in Endgame.
There are a few. On the guard, it's just me and Ari. And now you.
Ari too?
Yeah, that teleport ability of his is definitely like no other. As for me, you heard it earlier. I can phase my body through solid objects. It's not a standard knight ability. Ari's status is well known. Mine as well.
So even though they're both F-class knights, their abilities are different. How interesting. I didn't know Mara was also F-class, and now I learned something new.
And given your introduction, everyone knows about you too.
The way she said that made me wonder if it was common for other F-class to keep their status secret. I have so much to catch up on. I know very little about Espers in general. If I had access to messages, I could contact Trent. I mean, I guess. Not that I wanted to deal with him, but he'd at least be an excellent source of information. Yeah, if you could get him to focus for longer than 5 seconds.
You'll have plenty of time to learn. Especially now that you're out of the infirmary.
Okay, and now we're back to our regularly scheduled programming. Alright, are you wearing your psi inhibitor, sir? Are you wearing your psi inhibitor? He gave me an annoyed look at that question, though I thought it was fair to ask, all things considered.
That's the first thing you're going to say to your very first visitor. I even come bearing gifts.
He brandished the shopping bags as evidence. I'm under doctor's orders not to be around any elites who aren't wearing one. He looked extremely put out as he lifted a wrist to show the inhibitor clasped to it.
You are no fun at all. I suppose that means you'll fit into the guard perfectly. Next thing you know, you'll be scowling at anything that moves like our little Kale.
Don't worry, that's only until next time, Magnus. Little Kale?
If you want to try something fun, call him that the next time you see him.
Could be fun. No thanks. I enjoy living. And I have a strong feeling he hated that nickname.
No.
I stepped back to let Magnus inside with the bags, taking one off his hands when he passed. And I apologize about the inhibitor thing. I just prefer to keep my brain intact. And not damaged. Oof. Word choices, considering situations that have happened to this guy.
Oh, it's not so bad.
Brain damage isn't? He just gave me an odd smile. Yes.
Well, it could be worse.
Puzzled, I watched him take the bags to the kitchen and unload them. I followed suit with the one I'd taken from him. Yes, about that.
The council denied my request to reinstate your system access. I suspected you might need food if we didn't want you to starve.
Well, I'm sure I could have found something somewhere before starvation set in. But thank you. Okay, there we go. Now we're back. I was just a little bit early on that one. Am I being confident this time? Yep. I hope they're not actually stupid enough to think that'll work. They may discover that's as big a mistake as assuming they can manipulate me into compliance.
Entertaining as that may be to see, it would be a shame if it came to that. I hope the council realizes that when her recovery is complete, they'll be dealing with a queen rank. I'm certain the fact she is a queen rank is uppermost in everyone's mind right now. Thus they are keen to see her conform to their expectations.
Nothing they've done since I encountered my first Endgame agent is encouraging me to do that. Magnus just laughed as if that was the most amusing thing I'd said so far. He must be pleased.
I've noticed.
I'm not trying to cause problems, but I'm not some 6-year-old who showed up here the normal way. If my situation is as exceptional as everyone keeps saying, then the council is going to have to realize they need a different approach than what they're used to. I've had to manage my expectations since the day I woke up. Isn't it fair to expect them to do the same?
I believe their definition of fair may differ from yours.
If that's the case, the New Albion's meritocracy has nothing on Endgame's dictatorship.
Perhaps.
Alright. He's just here to ruin our day, Dr. Sassy. Don't worry about it. Ooh, another new option. Delightful. I'm just gonna leave and not hear this argument, potentially. Given the sound of a very intense meeting that didn't seem like it was ending soon, I decided to just go back. Magnus hadn't scheduled a particular time, so I could always come back after lunch. I most definitely didn't want to interrupt whatever was going on in there, so I just quietly retreated. Magnus had sounded quite frustrated, not an emotion I usually associated with him. Interesting, so we just completely missed that. Back in my flat, I made a quick lunch for myself and curled up with a book to read while I ate. Odette had pushed me a little harder than usual in training, as she was trying to get me accustomed to a more vigorous workout than what we'd been doing. I could tell I was going to be sore in the morning, and I'd have to do training again anyway. I wasn't sure when I fell asleep, or how long I slept, but I awoke to the sound of the door chime and sat up, looking around with bleary, confused eyes before I realized what was happening. I hadn't meant to sleep. Rubbing my face, I staggered to the door, forgetting I'd left most of my clothes scattered on the floor earlier. Oh, hello. You come to visit me. Until I pulled the door open and met with Odette's amused expression.
Well, hello.
Sorry, I just woke up.
I can tell. That's some amazing bed hair you have going on.
Please tell me I don't have some kind of surprise training this afternoon.
No. Magnus wanted me to give you this.
She held up a display device.
Can I come in?
Yeah, sure. Sorry, still waking up. I shuffled out of the way, allowing her to enter. She eyed my discarded clothes with amusement. I like Odette.
I guess I should be glad you're settling in. This is a sign of settling in, right?
Honestly, I just hate pants.
I mean, that's fair.
What is that thing Magnus wanted you to give me?
Well, he said he asked you to come to his office sometime today, but you never showed.
I didn't mean to fall asleep earlier. I stopped by before lunch, but someone else was there and I didn't want to interrupt. I came back home for lunch and had an unintended nap.
Well, looks like Magnus contacted your family. This is a message from your mother.
Interesting, he actually told Odette what the contents were and the actual message and everything. That is interesting. He thinks he trusts his guard more than he lets on. Suddenly wide awake, I snatched the display from her. He contacted them?
The council doesn't know, but Maggie says he'll relay your response. He can send messages without anyone knowing or tracking them.
I looked up at her wide-eyed. Why would he go against the council?
I don't know. He doesn't do it often, to be honest. Not as overtly as this. I mean, he tries their patience in small ways, sure. Never goes against them quite this directly. He didn't give me many details beyond saying that he's tired of waiting on the Moirai to give the all-clear.
The Moirai? I keep hearing people mention them.
They're a group of bishops that act as close advisors to the council. They sort of monitor future events that might be problematic. Vaughn's sister is one of them.
So they don't want me to contact my parents because of some future event?
Presumably. It's difficult to know what they're thinking. The future's difficult to mold to our liking. And we can't always avoid negative events without causing something even worse. And there are a lot of possible futures to look through. So it's not like they ever see everything. They try, though. No idea what has them so cautious with you and your family, though.
I didn't realize something like that was involved. Should I even respond? I mean...
Hey, I wouldn't give up this chance if I were you. Bishops or no bishops, we can't live our lives afraid of the future. Seize the moment.
Thank you, Odette. I love that. She's like, you contact your mom, girl. Forget these guys.
It's a principle you learn real fast when you live and work here.
I guess you're right.
Anyway, I need to head out again. I am sure you want to look at that message anyway. Want me to check back in later?
I think I'll be okay. Tell Magnus I said thank you. And sorry for not stopping by.
I'm sure he'll understand. And if not, well, you'll find your password changed tomorrow or some nonsense like that. He likes to get petty revenge when people upset him.
Nice. Please tell me you're joking. She just grinned as she let herself back out and shut the door behind her. Amazing. I do love me some petty revenge. Vanessa's sister. Thanks to that little tidbit we got from, Odette. That meant she was a member of the Moirai, the group of bishops that monitored future events. What was she doing here? And this time, I think I agree with her about being restless. Yes. Of course I am. I don't want to be here. I'm isolated from my family. I was stuck in an infirmary for days. Even now, I'm confined to the training room or my flat and have an escort anytime I go anywhere else. One of the first times I've left my room on my own like an independent adult, someone hunted me down and started acting like I'd attempted a daring escape. You're the first person outside the first guard I've had a substantial conversation with, if we can even call it that. If I dare to ask for basic rights to be reinstated, it's treated like a dastardly scheme. And I feel like a prisoner. So, yes, I'm restless. I exhaled and ran a hand over my forehead, feeling bad for having unloaded on her like that, though she had been the one who asked. I know there's frustration because I haven't been able to start training until recently. And I know you're just trying to do your job. But very little about my introduction to this place has been pleasant. I'm trying to understand that this is somehow the way things are done here, but you aren't making it easy. Whether it's constantly checking on me, keeping me isolated from the outside, or being disappointed I'm not a prodigy who understands all the uses of Psi from about 3 hours of training with it. Lethi's expression still didn't change even after that rant. I couldn't read her at all. She's just filing things away and like, good, frustration is building.
I see. If we had found you as a child, you would have adapted, becoming entirely assimilated by Endgame's culture by now. And instead, here you are, struggling like a fledgling bird who wants to leave the nest but cannot.
Yes. I know if I came here as a child, I'd be more obedient and less likely to complain. I understand. Having to deal with an adult that questions her treatment must frustrate the council.
There is that. And the fact that by now you would be well trained. Perhaps like your predecessor.
She looked away, mouth turning downward.
You would not have suffered as you have. That much is certain. But no one will apologize for what you've been through. We need you.
Alright. I shook my head, unsure where this conversation was heading or what any of that really meant. I don't understand what this has to do with me. Lethi leaned back, gaze sliding away as she clasped her hands behind her back. She continued to speak to me while looking down the hall, anywhere but at me. Alright, then we get the future thing. And now, instead of thanking him, we get all emotional. How do they justify that?
Anything can be justified as long as you say the greater purpose is more important than the person's rights. Thus, the cameras were for your protection. Your protection is for everyone else's protection. They only wanted to help because we need you to be safe and carefully governed. Those are the ways they justify it.
Turning them off may well be for their protection. Because if I found out I was being spied on, I swear to you I would tear this building apart until I found them. So I could complain in person.
Oh dear. That might be fun to watch, but I fear I'll have to keep that little threat to myself. I think there are other ways to guarantee your safety that don't require watching you so carefully. So I turned them off from the start.
Will that get you into trouble? Are we... Okay, not yet.
Until today, I've been briefing the council on your progress, and that was enough. Since the others give me daily briefings about your progress, I was able to extrapolate enough information to satisfy the council.
Alright, are we... Okay, there we go. Now we're back for sure. Okay. It would be entertaining to see her just, like, you know, completely tear this place down. Not gonna lie. I'd be okay with that being a quote-unquote bad ending. Okay. Now, for sure, we have to say goodnight, Magnus. So I'm glad I did this one the other time. I didn't think I was. Magnus has such a unique way of wearing a person out. Oof. Good night, Magnus. I stepped back towards the hallway, glancing back when he spoke again.
Did I make you uncomfortable?
No. But you have a bad habit of acting like making people uncomfortable isn't your intention.
I don't know what you mean.
You absolutely know what I mean. Next time you want to be left alone, you can just say so. You don't have to try to drive me away by acting like that.
I'll try to remember that.
He didn't deny he wanted to be left alone, I noticed, so I still went on my way alone. I didn't head straight to my room, instead making a quick loop around the garden before heading back. Despite everything, Magnus proved a distraction, even though it was a brief one. I suppose I had to thank him for that. At the very least, for a while I thought about him more than any of the other things that had been occupying my thoughts. But you could have had warm milk. I was dragging by the time I got back to my place. When I fell into bed again, I was too exhausted to stay awake any longer. With my innate ability to always wake up early, I knew I'd be useless the next day. But either way, at least I finally got some much-needed sleep. And you didn't have to be carried back home, so that's good. Alright, so where are we going after that one? Okay, so we're gonna ask about what happened to Sylvia. What happened to her? The previous queen.
She died, of course.
I knew that already, but something about the way he said it. You're not trying to imply she died because they killed her, are you?
She died because they threw her away, Morgan. Because she had never played to their tune or convinced them they should do otherwise.
You shouldn't have to convince people not to throw you away.
That is the reality of Endgame.
It's interesting that Magnus actually confirms, basically in Jack's own words, that she was thrown away. So Jack was absolutely 100% not crazy about the council throwing his sister away. I struggle to believe that.
Believe what you want. People like us are perhaps irreplaceable, but that means that we need to be controlled all the more. And when they can't control us,
they get rid of us.
Never believe they can be trusted because they say they can be, Morgan. And from now on, be careful about showing them what you're capable of.
So he was saying I should hold back? I wasn't sure I even knew how to do that in a convincing way. Alright, and the music change. I mean, we all kind of extrapolated that that was what happened, but to actually have it said plainly is good. Alright, we're gonna do this one this time. When have you people ever bothered to tell me anything or confirm anything with me? Name one instance where you made a decision you explained to me, or one where you informed me ahead of time. This time I couldn't keep the heat from my voice as I answered. You give privileges, you take them away. You order me to do training, you order me on assignments, but you've never given me an explanation for anything. Your entire modus operandi is hiding things from me, isolating me, keeping me in the dark, and expecting me to go along with it without question.
If you believe we intended to isolate you, then you should have realized we wouldn't reinstate your access.
The only thing I've realized so far is that you should have reinstated it weeks ago.
So you restored your access intentionally because you're unhappy with our decision. What other systems did you access?
No! I didn't. If anything, I restored my access unconsciously because I'm unhappy with your decision. And I didn't access any other systems. I'm not a spy! What the hell are you people so terrified of me seeing or revealing that it requires this interrogation?
It's naive to believe Endgame doesn't house sensitive information we do not wish outsiders to see.
If you were going to just consider me an outsider forever, why pull me off the street in the first place? I hate to burst your bubble, but I'm not interested in accessing your secrets. I pressed the palms of my hands together, resting my forefingers against my lips as I let out another breath. I understand it is a concern for you that I can do things even I'm unaware of and not yet in full control of. But you have to see that your actions are contributing to the problem. If I reinstated my access unaware and while asleep, it didn't come out of nowhere. I've been here over a month and you refuse to give me privileges every normal citizen has.
You are not a normal citizen.
I'm also not a prisoner or a criminal, unless that's something else you've been keeping from me. I am not trying to cause problems, but you must see. I was brought here under very unusual circumstances. Not entirely pleasant circumstances either, because that was the decision you made for me.
That wouldn't be the case had you not hidden your status in the first place. You are responsible for your own situation, Agent Leone.
I gritted my teeth. So they were going to hold that over my head as well? I have worked hard since my arrival. If I've stepped out of line at all, it is because you forced me into a corner. If you want me to submit to your orders, then perhaps you shouldn't create a situation where I have to disobey orders if I want to do something as basic as contact my family. Which is something even actual criminals may do.
Miss Leone has a point. Her circumstances have caused us to be overly cautious. It doesn't help that F-class Espers are susceptible to psi instability when subjected to emotional stress. Something I'm sure she's found in abundance here at Core Solaris.
Finally! Someone who had at least a little sympathy.
That is a reasonable observation. It doesn't change that this is a security issue. We work hard to keep rogue Espers off the street. We cannot afford to have one in our midst, intentional or otherwise.
All Guard members will receive demerits for the matter regarding the illicit sending of messages. If it happens again, you are to report it at once. As for...
Okay, I think we're back. Yeah, we're back after that lovely little meeting with Endgame. It was a little satisfying to be able to yell at them a bit, not gonna lie. Okay. We're at our last two choices. So, refuse the treatment, which we've done before. And then this one doesn't matter. So, I'm going to leave this one because that one happens in a different bad ending, so we'll have something to look forward to with that. I'll just leave it alone. Here we go. Ah, I wondered if a bad ending would happen here. Makes sense. I don't know what finally forced me to wake up. Or at least try. It was difficult to just open my eyes. Like the sleep that had been so hesitant to visit earlier now didn't want to let me go. I groaned, trying to push hands away from me. Wait. Why are there hands? Who is here? There was urgency to open my eyes, see who was with me, what they were doing. I couldn't quite translate that urgency into movement. Sluggishly, I pushed again at the insistent hands. I flailed with my arms, twisted my body, and then another set of hands was holding me down. That finally energized me enough to fight back, albeit weakly.
Lethe, do it!
Silence. Then a familiar voice.
Very well. How conscious is she? It's difficult to erase memories if they're awake. Only partially.
I recognized the face that came into view. Blurry, dim against the dark of the room.
Then this may be a little painful.
I struggled harder, trying to form the words to ask what they were doing.
Looks like I was wrong this time as well.
Her hand was against my forehead, and everything went fuzzy. Far away. For a terrifying moment, I could feel her inside my mind, perusing, taking, locking away. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. And everything went black. I woke abruptly from a nasty dream. Ugh. One hand found its way to my forehead as I sat up. I felt terrible. Groggy, nauseous. I had a splitting headache. I rubbed my forehead, wondering why I felt like I had a city-sized hangover. And what? Why is my arm stinging? Lifting my arm, I spotted multiple long, angry-looking scratches. Not just one arm, but both. What the hell? I rubbed my face, the heavy weariness in my body almost convincing me to go back to bed. Based on the light outside, it had to be mid-morning, though. What a crappy night. I dragged myself out of bed, figuring a shower might help me wake up and wash away some of the residual grogginess. The shower helped. Sort of. My head was clearer, yet stuffy too. Like it was clogged with cotton. Maybe I'm coming down with something. That would be my luck. I might have to contact Dr. Sosky and let him know I wasn't well. Ugh. I shut the water off and stumbled out of the shower, grabbing a towel to wrap myself up. A sudden swell of dizziness almost overwhelmed me as I staggered back into the bedroom. Ugh. There was sharp pain in my head that sent me to my knees. I felt the thunderous sound of my heart rumbling through me. My mouth had gone dry as I bent over, head touching the carpet. What? Inside me, something was tearing, breaking. Somehow the sensation was familiar. This was... A wild spiral of energy ripped its way out of me, tearing a scream of pain from my lips as it ricocheted through the room. Power surge. But why? The words were dim at the back of my mind as the force of the surge sent pain shooting through my body. Powerful tendrils of psi lashed out of the surrounding room. Glass shattered, wood splintered apart, fabric tore, and metal warped. I tried to recall the psi, tried to pull it back inside, like neatly folding laundry. I couldn't do it. My psi twisted away from my control, a writhing, flailing beast destroying everything around me. Over the noise, I heard the faint sound of the core Solaris defense system. And finally, I lost all sense of what was happening. There was nothing but the sound of destruction and the internal scream of Psi as it broke everything apart. Even me. Voices. I could hear them, but the words were... beyond my understanding. I should understand them. I knew I should. But... they faded. And it was silent once more. Oh, they actually stopped her. Dang, I was wondering if they would be able to.
Will she wake up? I cannot answer that question. The damage to her body we can repair. The damage to her mind will take time. What could have caused such a horrific loss of control? I don't know. Power surges can be caused by extreme stress, but I don't believe her situation quite fits that descriptor. There surely was a trigger, but I can't say what it was. Your apartment is right next to her. Did you not sense anything? We all sleep sometimes, Doc. And by the time the search happened, I was already at work. I imagine the Council will not be forthcoming with information either.
You think they know what happened?
Are you suggesting they don't? They wish to give her a medication that could keep her phoric system dormant during sleep. She refused. But if they did something to her, we will probably never know if she doesn't wake up. And maybe not if she does. She may never regain her memories of the event. Has Magnus been by? He came earlier. He said nothing. He watched her for some time and left without a word. His face was... Whether he knows something, I cannot say. We never should have brought her. This place is a death trap for people like her.
Aww. Well, we're gonna see a little bit of guilt on Caleb's route, I think, too.
Don't say that. She's not... I mean, she's still alive. Sure. I'm out of here. I will speak with him later. His guilt is... understandable. This time. Doc, for Morgan, you have to... I know what I must do. I will keep you apprised of her condition. Thanks. Vanessa, do not look too deeply into this. I do not believe it is wise. For your own safety.
I know.
And watch Magnus closely. I believe he intend to act this time. And if he does, it will be something reckless. Yeah, I know that too. Cale was right about something for a change. They should never have brought you here, Morgan Leone.
Aw. Power surge. That was so sad. That was one of the saddest bad endings. Morgan ended up in a terrible situation and everybody else was just, like, broken. That another queen had been harmed under. Like, it just reopened all the old wounds and, like, added additional trauma on top of the trauma sandwich that was already there. Oy. I just feel sad for everybody. I think if Ari had been there too, my whole heart would have just, like, broken in half. I'm like, ugh. As it is, that was bad ending number 1, guys. On to bad ending number 2.